afternoon, and welcome back to Coffee with a Kick. We're on the other side of the international break. It is smooth, busy sailing from here on out the rest of the season. We've got this in between this weekend and next weekend, we've got 20 EPL matches to cover. That's a lot. We got a full slate in the midweek, spread out across Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But we'll get to that on the other side of this weekend. First, we need to cover the 10, most of which are on Saturday. Anything you want to say before we get in here? USMNT lost I think it was the Copa America. No, not Copa America. Gold Cup. Gold Cup?
No, we won.
We won the Gold. What? We lost one of them. What did we lose? We lost in the semis.
I don't know. I saw
of them.
We beat Mexico 2-0 in the final to win.
Were there two tournaments going on at the same time, and that's why I didn't recognize anybody? I just happened to look at the wrong stats?
Well, there might have been. There's like that CONCACAF Nations League.
The
Gold Cup, I believe, is what we won with our full squad.
That's what I looked at. We lost in the semis, and Mexico won in the finals. That's what I get for using the ESPN app to try to keep up with that, I guess. So we won the Gold Cup. Cool. Awesome. Sick.
3 years in a row.
Eat it, Mexico. Now let's see if we can do anything in the Olympics. Have we even qualified yet? I don't know.
I don't know, and I don't really want to look. So,
well, listen. I know that Christian Pulisic should be there for us during the Olympics. Should be.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully. Anyway, there we go. That's some intro. Now we'll get into the meat of the matter, which is match week 30, right? Or a match week 30? I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Match week 30. Starting off with Newcastle and West Ham, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Sunday morning. I slid between, I think, 17 different bad Irish accents at the same time. I'm sure someone can let me know what they heard in that gobbledygook. How do you have Newcastle and West Ham going?
About as unpredictable as you might expect. Both teams have got to be rested. Neither of these teams have a ton of guys going out on international duty, to be honest. So I'm going to go a 2-2 draw. That's a safe bet, 2-2 draw. I feel like Newcastle could play well, West Ham could play well, but I'm going to go 2-2 draw to be safe.
Yeah, I'm showing that West Ham may only have one dude on the out sheet, and that is Edson Velasquez, because he's on 10 yellow cards, so not even an injury. And they might be getting Kudus back. It looks like Kudus is going to be back for this one. So I actually have them going down victory lane, I guess. I guess that's what I'm going with that. 3-1 over Newcastle, because Callum Wilson is out for them, and Kieran Trippier is probably coming back, but he is coming off of an injury, and Harvey Barnes as well. Mm-hmm. So they aren't as full strength as West Ham will be. And I think that they take advantage of that, getting Kudus back and take it 3-1 there. You said 2-2. 2-2 and 3-1.
Playing it safe. Playing it safe.
But once again, I mean, with my track record for picking West Ham, definitely fade Xander when he's picking West Ham. The only thing worse right now, my Brighton Hove Albion. I think I'm on 11 weeks now of missing my Brighton Hove Albion picks, which we'll get to in a moment. But first, we need to go there to Vitality Stadium in Bournemouth. And Bournemouth hosts Everton, an important match for the bottom of the table. I think like I've said before, I think Bournemouth is safe at this point, but Everton definitely not feeling very good right now. Neither of these. Bournemouth is playing decent in the past couple weeks. I mean, they've been playing lackluster sides, to put it nicely. I mean, they beat Burnley, drew Sheffield, and beat Lutontown. So I think that this pattern continues here, and I think they draw Everton at home. I'll say 1-1 is what I go with here. Everton's still in the mix of things down at the bottom of the table, but they don't drop full points.
Well, my prediction will make it look like I was cheating off you on the test. I also had 1-1. I think Everton's not in a good run of form. 2 points from their last 5 matches. Bournemouth, 7 of their last 9 points they've gotten. So, I mean, that's pretty good. I just think Everton, they've got to start fighting. They got to start clawing. So, yeah, I think Everton will sneak a point here.
I mean, they'll take it, especially with some of the competition that's going on around the top of the bottom of the table, if you get what I mean. We'll move on to one of those teams that I don't think will fare as well. Burnley goes to Stamford Bridge in good old London town, taking on Chelsea at 11 a.m., one of the many 11 a.m. matches. How do you think the boys in blue go against your Val Kilmers? I'm just going to call him that. Vincent Kompany. There we go. I got it this time.
Vincent Kompany's. I have liked the way that Burnley has played their last 3 match weeks. I think they get a point out of it.
Really?
I think it's 2-2. I think Chelsea, this feels like one of those matches that they might let it slip, come back a little bit lethargic from the break. I've been wrong before. But I think Burnley, all of those guys on Burnley have been training the last 2 weeks. Chelsea had a lot of guys go international duties, so it depends on how cohesive they've been. But Burnley, it's now or never. You can't drop any more points, especially against teams in the bottom half of the table. So it's hard for me to see them not just putting it all out there and trying to get a point.
Yeah, but we've said that about Burnley for so long that they got to put their pedal to the metal now. They've got to do it.
They're doing it now, though. They're doing it now.
And Chelsea, you're right. I mean, the story of their season has been hit or miss. I mean, they've been cohesive one week, scatterbrained the next. It's a sort of rest or rust scenario, I think, between these two sides. And I think that the active side, Chelsea, comes out and really takes it to them. I think it's a 3-0 victory here for Chelsea over Burnley. And with the 4-point deduction, 4-point deduction for Nottingham Forest. It puts Burnley back into it. I mean, if they sneak a point, you're right. They'll be right back in the mix of things. Sheffield United, they don't seem to care. So they'll stay down. But we'll move on from that skeptical sort of match to where are we? Nottingham Forest, the City Ground in Nottingham, taking on Crystal Palace on the USA Network at 11 a.m. as well. Boy, it's hard to pick which of these sides is performing kind of. Crystal has had a little bit better stuff going on. Neither of these teams have been great. I mean, great, period. They're on the bottom half of the table, so none of them are doing very great.
Yeah.
But it's hard to pick between them. Let me check out the Crystal Palace, see if they're getting any of their attackers back here yet. Yeah, they're getting back a couple people. Schlupp. But Elise's still out until a little bit later in April, it looks like. So, And Doucouré's out probably for the rest of the season, it looks like. I think that Nottingham Forest gets a point out of it. They'll be upset about it, I think. You know what? No, I changed my mind here. I think this is going to be one of those 3-2 bottom of the table clashes, and Nottingham gets all 3.
Really?
Yeah, I decided to change my mind. Probably gonna hurt me in the end. But at least it's not Brighton Hove Albion. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I think Nottingham's similar to where Burnley's at. They got to start getting points, especially after the deduction. Crystal Palace, when they don't have their star guys up front, it's really Mateta or nothing. Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't show up, there has been nothing. So at home, after the international break, I think Nottingham takes it 2-1. They've shown flashes of good play recently, so we'll see how they respond now with the 4-point deduction.
Yep, I gotta rally the troops here, try to save their. Listen, I won't be too mad if they stay down there because I picked them to go down. So it'll make me look somewhat reasonable when I go back and see that my Wolves I did have getting relegated in 18th place. Listen, I was negging. If kids still use that term, I was negging the Wolves this season. That's why I had them down there. I think that's already out of style. Pretty sure it is.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll move on from negging my Wolves to Sheffield United and Fulham at Bramall Lane in Sheffield. Do you think Fulham takes care of business here against Sheffield United?
I think they do. And I think it's a 3-1 victory. Sheffield, I think, after this international break, they probably spent the last 2 weeks preparing for next season and the championship because they just can't get anything going.
No.
They're only, if they were to win 4 matches of the last 8, they would, in fact, probably stay up. But they can't do that. They're going to have to, but they can't. And I think Fulham's just going to come out. Fulham wants to keep climbing the table. 3-1. It's not going to be pretty. It'll be that one match that you feel like, all right, we've now settled into the reality of next year.
It's like Fulham gets 2 in the first 20 and just like coasts the rest of the match. One of those sorts of things. I actually had 3-1 for a second, but at the last second I changed it to 2-0. And it could be worse than that. Fulham has been able to produce big results this season. So I could see it being like a 5-1 match pretty easily if Sheffield United is off of what meager game they can present typically. Their defense is abominable, to put it politely, and threadbare. So
yeah,
just to kind of lay all of our cards here on the table, that's kind of what it looks like when you want Sheffield United on defense. And Fulham, I think, could take full advantage. I'm still going to go with a modest 2-0. But I could see this one getting out of hand pretty easy. Speaking of getting out of hand pretty easy, Tottenham Hotspur hosts Luton Town at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in good old London town. I'll throw 2 of those in here. I think this is 4-1. I think this is pretty straightforward. Tottenham's healthy. That they've got a lot of guys healthy now, and they're still trying to scrap up there for that Champions League position. They took a step back, obviously, last match, they losing 3-0 to Fulham. So they have to make up a full 3 on Aston Villa. Either that or hope or root for City or Arsenal. Arsenal's still in it, right? Yeah, Arsenal to win the Champions League, which is not the position you want to be in as an EPL side, is rooting for your rivals to win the Champions League just so you can sneak in.
Yeah, I think Luton puts up a bit more of a fight. I think it ends up being 3-2. I think Luton has the stuff. They have the drive. They've been playing well. Not enough stuff to win or even get a point. But they know they know Burnley's coming after them. They know Nottingham's coming. So Luton, they put themselves in position to actually potentially stay up. So I think they're going to start coming at these bigger teams just trying to get a point. So I think it'll be a bit more exciting than 4-1.
Hey, I think 4-1 could be nice and exciting. This one I'm not excited about. How often do I say this? But my Aston Villa hosts my Wolves. And, some of these teams are doing all right with their injuries. We're not. Neto is out until May. Huang, Hichan Wang, whichever order his name goes, he's out till mid-April. And Cunha is 50-50, I think, for this match. I think they're expecting him to come back, but even so, he might be limited on minutes. Craig Dawson might still be out. On the last one, we got lucky with our defense scoring goals for us. I don't think it comes through 2 matches in a row. I think this is a pretty tidy 2-0 victory for Aston Villa here over my Wolves.
I think it'll be a hard-fought 1-1 draw. I think the Wolves, knowing that their offense is a little bit lackluster, they're going to really anchor in the midfield and on the defense. And Aston Villa does not like playing teams that anchor in. They want to be the team that possesses a little bit, but also free flows. And I think if Wolves play it right, if they scheme it right, they could do it. So, there have been a few games where Wolves have wanted the possession and done it well. So this is one of those games, if they can keep the ball and possess it in the back, I think they have a chance to steal a point. But like you said, getting a point is probably going to be the best they're going to do. If they win,
Yeah.
awesome. But
If
I
they
think,
win, yeah, if they win, our defense definitely came through for us because it's not going to be like we're outscoring Aston Villa. It's that we stopped them from scoring is more what it's going to be like.
it'll be up to the scheme. I think if
yeah.
Wolves assert in the first 10 minutes, they get to play the way they want. Aston Villa has not been the team that's like come back in and asserted. They're not like a City who's going to take the game. They're just going to like, oh, this is how it's going. All right, let's try to adjust. So that Wolverhampton manager, if you're listening to me, obviously you are. So just scheme it up and you'll beat them.
And that takes us from my Wolves to the final match, the 4 p.m. match on Saturday. Brentford hosting Manchester United at the G-Tech Community Stadium. How do you think the Bees get a buzzing, or do they play to form here in the second half of the season? It's a lot of red, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, looking at their team, it is shocking to me that they've scored more goals than Man U have, which is shocking, seeing that they're 10 places away from each other. But I think Brentford puts up a good fight, but they lose 2-1. Ultimately, I think that they're just, I don't know what it is. Maybe they figure it out over the international break, but there's just some voodoo on their team.
Yeah.
That even them drawing was like, wow, we drew. This is great. Because I think before that they had lost 3 in a row, then they draw. Now they've lost 2 in a row. So I don't really know what to think of them. Man U, clearly they've been the team that has been able to keep teams out of the net. They've been able to score. I don't think Brentford's the kind of team that can score enough to beat Man U. So 2-1 Man U, that's conservative. It could be worse.
Yeah, 2-1. It seems reasonable. I mean, Manchester United's been a different team since the new year hit. They've been performing at a high level. It's really unfortunate for them that they put themselves in such a hole. I mean, winning 5 out of last 7, just straight out winning 5 out of last 7, and they only moved up 1 spot in that amount of time on the table. That's how much of a gap they left for themselves at the beginning. So I think you're right. I think that Manchester United does take this. 2-1. I think it's a 1-0 victory for United. I think, yeah. I just think that United is locked in here in the second half of the season. And if they put together a strong final 10 matches, they could push for 4th. I mean, they're only down by 9 points, and they've still got some teams to play here. So, if Aston Villa and Tottenham don't keep it up, they could face a threat from below from Manchester United with how they're performing in 2024. But then we'll get to one. I'm excited about this one. Because I've missed 11 Brighton & Hove Albion picks in a row. And this one I feel pretty good about, okay? I feel like I can trust Liverpool to beat Brighton & Hove Albion at home. Now, the score, who cares about the score, as long as I get the result right. But I will say it'll be 3-1. That's what I meant to say, 3-1. Just because Liverpool is better than Brighton & Hove Albion by a good margin this season. And they've been, to say that Brighton & Hove Albion has been up and down is an understatement. I mean, win, loss. It was loss, win, draw, loss, win. So they're all over the place against differently skilled teams too. So lost 4-0 to Luton, beat Crystal 4-1, lost 2-1 to Tottenham, beat Sheffield 5-0. Then they draw Everton 1-1, lose to Fulham 3-0, and then beat Nottingham 1-0. So they're beating the teams that they should by and large, but they are not performing well against teams that have any sort of quality.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to predict a Brighton upset. I think they win 3-1 at Anfield.
Of course you are.
I think Liverpool's going to really be feeling it after the international break. They just drew a disappointing match. I think that Brighton has the stuff to shock. I mean, Brighton's in 8th. they can smell West Ham in 7th. It's not out of the question that they could rise up past Man U if Man U slips up. So I don't know. I think Brighton's going to be a bit more inspired here at the end of the season, and they might return to that first half of the season form. And I think they get Liverpool. I think they get them 3-1.
You keep talking them up like you actually believe it. You keep doing that. We'll see how it plays out in the end. But your record picking Liverpool, I think, would indicate some caution on people. Take a grain of salt with that one, all right? Maybe the size of a... Well, I almost said
they're going to lose at some point. They will lose.
You think so? Statistically, it's likely. But, 4 out of 28 is not a lot of... 2 out of 28 is not a lot of losses. Then to the headliner. Obviously, the headliner here. Manchester City hosts Arsenal for a 1v3 matchup. 1 point separating the sides. Arsenal has won how many? Oh, boy, howdy. Jeez Louise. That's 8 in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8 in a row for Arsenal. City has had a tougher road to hoe in the meantime, but they're unbeaten since, what is this? Since they lost to Aston Villa back on December 6th. So unbeaten since December 6th for City. So obviously neither of these teams are lacking for talent or momentum. But how do you see your baby Blues coming up here? This is all coming up roses for them?
It's going to really be up to the midfield. It'll really be a Rodri versus Rice situation. Like whoever determines the midfield is going to really take a hold of the game. I think it being at home, Arsenal really wanting to get over the hump, and City, a lot of our key players stayed home and rested and trained. Not a lot of them went out to international duty, so I'm going to go 2-1 City. I just think we're going to be very disappointed to not have beaten Liverpool. We know if we win this, we are in the driver's seat. I don't know. It's also important to note there's a game in hand. So if we win, we then have a game in hand on Arsenal. And unfortunately, it's going to be up to Liverpool losing or drawing at some point. But I think this will be City's game. They're going to kickstart their winning streak. And I mean, based on the rest of their schedule, they could win out. So get past this one. We've got a chance. A little nervous. We might be also looking towards the Champions League more than we should, but who knows? I think 2-1.
I mean, can't look forward yet. You've got 3 games in between right now in the Champions League. So you got some business to take care of before it ends. I, too, have it as 2-1 Manchester City. It's going to be, it's going to be similar to the Liverpool match, which ended up being a draw at 1-1. But I think this time City's stick-to-itiveness gets through in the end, and they get one of those just manhandling goals that they often do late in games, 75th, 82nd minute, where they've just worn you down all match long. That you always have to pay attention to every part of the field when it comes to City. Like you can't ever be like on the backside of play and saying, "Oh, I could take a second and like not worry." No, you're gonna have somebody running it on your backside to play the ball across to Erling Haaland there in the box. If you're not careful, have Kevin De Bruyne flight a ball to the corner and get something down the touchline. You always have to be paying attention. And it's stressful and it's wearing. And I think that this time City does eventually break through and go up. In this case, 2-1 to take the victory and top of the table from Arsenal.
The first time they played, City did not have De Bruyne or Rodri, and Arsenal won 1-0. So I think that'll be a little different for Arsenal to have our best defender and best assister. So we'll see how they play that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that is the match day that will be match day 30. Not many teams actually going up to 30 at this point. Just with how the FA Cup matches broke out. I show that both Arsenal and Man City are on 28 match days, so I don't think that City would have a game in hand on Arsenal.
I could have been looking at the wrong one.
Well, they
also could have been. I could have been looking at the wins column as well.
Maybe.
Yeah, I was looking at the wins column.
Gotcha, looking at the wins column. Yeah, so they're on the same set of match days. All three of those top of the table teams are. They all have a game in hand on Aston Villa. So that is so really it's a 3-team race for the top and a 3-team race for fourth for the automatic Champions League bid. So we'll see how that shakes out. But before we go, do we have a good old what do you call it? Trivia question for this pair of episodes. Typically we do these on Monday, but it's a Friday. So
we got one.
Oh boy.
We got one.
Now is it now Flynn 21 was on my page when we were talking about the FA Cup final ball. He thought it was going to be green as well. I was green or white. But do we have something equipment related today?
Equipment related, not equipment related.
Oh.
It's more. Well, I'll just get into the question. Who is the oldest goal scorer in Premier League history?
The oldest goal scorer in Premier League history. All right. Has it happened recently, within the past decade?
No, it was just before. No, not in the last decade.
All right.
It's been a while, but it's a name that's like pretty prominent if you know like 90s, early 2000s Premier League. So that kind of gives you a range.
There you go. All right. See, I got some information out of them. All right, put your answer down in the comments below, and we will see in the next episode whether or not you were correct. And until we get back here on our Tuesday episode, we could have it on Monday. We'll see on the other side of the weekend. Why don't you go ahead and grab your coffee, watch some soccer, and see you other side.